Welcome, people. Welcome back to another episode of the Non-Expert Guide to African TV and Film. I have my co-non-experts. Hey, BME.
Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Ibiemi. I'm just here to help out and gist about these productions.
Tolu.
Hi, everyone.
All right. I guess that's all we're going to get.
That's all today.
Okay, so we're back. We're back for another week of talking about films, the content that we've seen, things that have come out recently. And it seems like Netflix has been our go-to platform these days. It's just releasing tons of African content. It's been awesome. All right, people. So we're going to be comparing and contrasting. We're going to do a compare and contrast of Royal Hibiscus Hotel, which is a film from Nigeria, and Cook-Off, which is a film from Zimbabwe. They're both romantic comedies in a way, right? And they're both about food, which was kind of an unintentional pick for us, but then it worked. So hey, let's talk about it. Let's talk about plot first of all. The Cook-Off, not the Cook-Off. Cook-Off. I keep adding articles in front of it.
I like the fact that they used they had the sort of a backdrop of reality TV, which everyone can relate to. So I thought that was a good idea. I liked the single parent story and someone who has aspirations to do better than they currently are. I like the fact that she was currently working in an environment that suited her, but which in my mind and in life prepares you for the bigger opportunity. So she was humble enough to take the opportunity that was in front of her, and I think that prepared her for the future. I think the romance was set up beautifully. And I don't know if it's just because the two of them were such an attractive couple, attractive people individually, but even as a couple. But, their first meeting, I thought that was really good. Clearly, it was set up beautifully, I thought, and the way they came into each other's lives. So the whole, I didn't really understand the story at the end about how she got pregnant and how that relates to her mother's story. I thought they didn't need to give an explanation as to why the mother was bitter about her young daughter getting falling pregnant while in high school. I think every mother would not be happy. So I don't think they needed to give her any a bigger story, which just came out at the end in the last 5 minutes or so. So that plot didn't need to. Yeah, it didn't have to do anything there. I like the whole sort of face off between her and Milian. So Anesu and Milian. So the story, I think, weaved itself quite nicely. Some parts of it is tongue in cheek, and it was very very cliche, but it worked. It was entertaining. So for me, I think the plot worked. There's obviously some few bits and pieces that they could have dug into, but did they really need to? Did they really need to be any deeper than that? I don't think so. So in my mind, it worked.
Okay, so what say thee?
I agree with most of it. I agree that, for me, Cook-Off did a really good job of with the plot. I get that, I watch a lot of cooking shows, so it felt very believable to me, the way that things progressed. The part where she got disqualified and came back, I think that's where things were a little bit less, worked out a little less for me. But I mean, going through those stages and cooking and all of those things, I really enjoyed that. I think, plot-wise, it was a bit bog standard. It just felt like it's a typical sort of hero's journey. But that's storytelling. That's essentially it. But I like that they had her, like, she owned that she wasn't as great a cook as she needed to be, and she needed to learn stuff, and she grew as a chef. She grew even as a parent, I think. I mean, and as a person, I like that she had a journey and she actually improved from beginning to end. So I really think that they did really well in developing her as a character. And within the storyline, her it worked. It really did work. I mean, I felt at some points it got a little boring, but overall, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, same here. And we don't see films out of Zimbabwe very often, so I really like that. right?
I think this was one of the first big ones out of there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was not, it was, I like seeing their own culture and how their Africanness, you know, it was nice to see compared to West Africans. I love seeing quite a number of people with locks, right? That was kind of cool. I loved that she had her short hair. She was just this attractive woman who seemed very au naturel, you know. And same with Okpe and Royal Hibiscus. I mean, they were similar in some ways, you know. They were just these two,
Very.
you know, who weren't your typical female lead with the hair and a lot of makeup. So it was, that was nice. All right, Ibiemi, you're up first.
Things that I loved. I loved it was somewhat of a not true story, but it's a real story in the sense that there are lots of people who are educated in the West and have strong ties to Nigeria or back home. And there's always that question of, what should I do? Am I appreciated out in the West? Or should I take my experience and all of that, taking it back home? That is a huge story that does need to be explored. So I like the fact that they tackled that. That's a really good one. That building I thought was phenomenal. That the hotel itself, I thought that was like, beautiful. So I loved that. I'm like, I know. I thought that was really, really good. It was very clear. It was visually, and there's something about the production value or something. It was just very clear. I could see everyone's faces. I could see little bits of detail on the screen. It wasn't murky. It didn't look cheap. That's for sure. So those are the things I liked about it. I think there were some funny bits. Which Eloniga was definitely funny. We'll talk about whether it was over the top or what have you. But I mean, she had some really funny bits, which, you know, it's like classic Nigerian wife comedy, really played to a stereotype, but actually she did it really well. So I thought that was quite cool. Maybe because I haven't seen a lot of it recently, so I'm not tired of it. So I quite liked that. I think there was a bit of the acting was good, and I like the chemistry between the two of them. I thought there was some chemistry between the two of them, but we can talk about how that was built and, you know, what they could have done better as well. But I thought the chemistry between Okme and
Deji
was quite good.
All right.
For me, what I liked about it was I love the location. I loved.
Do you know where that was? Where that was shot by?
Yes, actually, it's in Marina.
Okay.
It's a ministry, I think, in Marina. Funnily enough, I parked there like earlier last year. But it's in Marina, in Lagos. And it's a ministry building. It's abandoned, but they did a really good job. I actually liked the the interior like design a little bit, with a caveat. I liked the father and mother performances. That was really good. I really enjoyed like that dynamic of like her quirky, quote unquote, parents. Well, not quirky, but Nigerian parents. And then I enjoyed elements of their relationship. I think they did a really good job in like pairing two very beautiful people. They look very much the part of romantic comedy or romance movie leads. And I think those are the things I enjoyed. In general, I enjoyed that the story was complete. Yeah. Right.
I liked it. I actually really liked it. I thought it was lighthearted. It was funny. I loved the chemistry between Okpe and Deji. I was like, note to self: get you a man that looks at you like Deji. Look at Okpe. And again, I love the cinematography. Like Ibiemi said, it was very beautiful. Yeah, I was surprised by it. I mean, I actually saw it like when it first came out, but I saw it again, and it felt like I hadn't seen it before, and actually enjoyed seeing it again. I enjoyed it. I mean, there's definitely things to talk about, you know. But going back to Tolu, what you said about this particular character, I wanted to ask you guys. Tolu actually brought this up earlier. So you feel like Anesu grew, Anesu in Cook-Off, right? How do you feel about Okpe's growth? Do you feel like she grew? Do you feel like she changed? Her character changed over the course of Royal Hibiscus Hotel?
So this is one of the things I kind of struggle with. Now I don't know if a movie like characters always need to grow. I mean, did she really need to grow as a character? I don't know, but for me, I know that I felt that there was no character growth for her. She started the movie pretty much she ended the movie pretty much the way she started it, as a person. There was no particular like she didn't become any better as a chef. I mean, she was already a good chef, and she was the same chef when she went back home. She didn't learn anything new. And I felt almost like she was very callous as a daughter, because she didn't, I mean, even after all that happened, she didn't really address why her parents were trying to sell the hotel. I don't think that, like, as a daughter, I mean, your parents obviously selling something that is very important to them, and they know is important to you. There must be an underlying issue. I don't know whether, I didn't feel that she addressed that. So I don't know. She started off the movie the way she ended the movie the way she started it. There was nothing, even for Deji. I don't think there's any character growth, because it felt like a plot point. Anything that he did, it wasn't because he grew. There was something that he learned. There was any big lesson he learned about the hotel or the people in the hotel, or it's basically, she's hot, I liked her, she wants this. Okay, I'm rich enough. Let me give her $1 million. Capiche? Finish.
The equivalent of $1 million, yeah.
Yes, or the 350 million naira.
Yeah.
I mean, so like there was no, for both of them, and I don't know, again, I don't know if it's necessary, but yeah, it just didn't ring, I don't know, didn't do it for me.
I thought she was self-centered, so I wish I had seen her kind of, change. Get a little more involved, ask more questions, don't be as oblivious. Everything is not about you,
Yeah.
Because it's just like everything about me, and what I want to do, and when I don't get it my way, I get angry and I go back to London,
Yeah, no.
It's like, you're selling my hotel?
I know.
How very dare you? Very, very dare you? But having said that, though,
no, go ahead.
To the point that Tolu, you were making earlier, did she need to grow? I mean, it would have been good to see her grow, and those things that you guys are pointing out now, I think I kind of made excuses for. But you're right. Actually, those things it would have been nice to see those things addressed. The character growth, or the realization that it's not all about you, and maybe a little bit of empathy for her parents' position, and so even some growth in her own ability to maybe cook or deal with issues and not run away, because she ran away from London because she wasn't getting a job. She ran away from Nigeria, and she just gets everything handed to her on a platter of gold. Having said that, and this is reality. Some people do live like that. Some people do have that, So
yes.
So so it's not too far fetched, I think. But whether that was a conscious thing on the part of the writers to allow her to get away with that, we don't know, or whether it was just what I call lazy writing, which is not an accusation, but it's just okay. It's a path of, this is the easiest way to go in this story, and it's obvious that it's easy to deliver this with the resources that we have. That might have been the option that they could go with. I think, as opposed to Anesu, like you said, she became a better chef. She became bolder. She was able to confront her mom. Even Prince his character developed, because although the switch at the end, where he realized that he probably should have believed her, was too sudden. I would have liked to see it build up a little bit better, but he owned up to it. He came up and he did something on the back of it, and so you could see that he was, and even though both men made sacrifices, and one was, in the eyes of the world, a bigger sacrifice, I appreciated his sacrifice more than the $1 million that Deji gave to. I honestly did. It felt more. It made sense. It made sense because they built it up that this was something that he wanted, and he told her, when it comes down to me or you, I'm going to pick me on this matter. I'm going to go all out. I'm not going to hold back because it's you. And then he gave that up. For Deji was, I'm a young Dangote. I have $1 million sitting somewhere. I can give it away to anybody that I want to. Usually when these movies end, what I do in my head is I'm like, they lie. 2 months down the line, they start fighting like any normal couple, yeah. So when I did that same thing to myself, I was like, two weeks down the line, they start fighting like any normal couple. Okwe and Deji, I see a cantankerous breakup and the legal thing and break.
Come on,
but for the other guys,
hot, man.
yeah,
The chemistry was too hot. They won't.
But for Anesu and Prince, the thought of them breaking up actually hurt me. Because I feel like they worked for it. They worked for it. They both developed. They both grew into this. So if it didn't work out, it would have been painful. But for those ones, they're just rich kids who had money to throw about. in my mind.
So what do you think about each characters? And I'm talking about the main characters now. Their motivation. Because I was telling Tolu earlier how I felt like Anesu's motivation to me just wasn't strong enough, right? So she's this woman, she's kind of struggling, she's a single mom, and then her son registers her in this cooking competition. And then the whole kind of driving force of this film is she gonna win? And for me, it just didn't feel as weighty. And like, I felt like I wish she was like the $10,000 I needed because I want to go back to school, or because I want my kid to go to some school, or I want to start my own business, Just like, what were the stakes? So if she lost, even if she won, we don't know what she's doing with the prize money. I felt like
she did say.
What did she say? Did she say? I don't remember. What did she say?
Yeah. She said, I mean, it was a tiny part in the film where the boy asked her, so if you won, what would you do with the money? And she said, I'll take you on a really nice trip to Victoria Falls, was it? I think it was Victoria. Is it Victoria Falls I was in? Yeah. So she said that. Victoria Falls, said I'll start up a small catering. She said I'll start up a small catering business.
Yes.
And scale up, So I think the dialogue there was very good. So they gave her the motivation, but also even if she didn't say that, I think the backdrop of where she was currently working and where she was now competing, that's different. And then showing that environment, I thought was incredibly powerful, because it gave us something that, okay, we don't want her to keep it. I mean, this is where she is at the moment, but this is where she could be. And I think that for me helped me at least, buy into her drive to win.
Because she was essentially working at a canteen / booker, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so for me,
but
I
just could tell that she was taking pride in her work anyway.
She was.
Yeah.
Even where she was, you could tell that she was taking pride in her work there. So you can imagine, her being in an even better, more stocked up. That's the word I'm looking for. With better resources, what she would do.
Mm-hmm. But I felt like they left too much to her imagination. They should have told us some of those things. I felt like it would have also helped build the tension, in us wanting her to win. I felt like I was almost passive in watching the competition. Yeah, I wanted her to win, but I don't know. I feel like if there was a bigger kind of motivation behind her doing it, if we had been told, I think I'd been rooting more like, yeah. I want her to win, and I wanted her to win because I.
Okay, let's compare it with Okwe then.
Yeah, let's compare it with Okwe. What was Okwe's motivation?
Let's compare how much. I don't know. I deserve it. It was going to be silver spoon in my mouth.
It was supposed to be she wants to come back and take over her family business, right? However,
but she didn't really want.
Yeah, she just seemed like she wanted to cook, and that was it. Like she didn't know anything about the actual business itself, right? So I don't know.
I think, one thing that you could say was her motivation was her need to showcase African cuisine.
So she did say that. Yeah.
I think they could have done a whole lot better off with that in that movie. They could have done. They didn't do that. Was such a huge opportunity.
Where was the
African cuisine? Anything?
Yeah.
No, but they did say something about egusi, the pasta sauce being made from egusi. I thought, oh, that's interesting, because it did, because it did look grainy. I was wondering what the sauce was, the pasta that she cooked for Deji. So that was the only thing I thought. Do you know what? Whilst this is a romantic comedy and there are other things around it, but everything should showcase
the character.
It should be an opportunity for us to the character, but also the surrounding bits and pieces of the story. So it was such a good opportunity for African cuisine. So they could have shown her when she came to Nigeria to go to a buka, and see them making amala and stew and be like, and then I think that would have probably brought it more to life, and that would have been a better way to showcase her motivation. At the moment, what it was She wanted to do something really nice and posh in London. She didn't get the opportunity to do it. So she went back home because, I have leg there. And then when that didn't work out because daddy was selling it, unfortunately, her boss or mentor or whatever now had an opportunity for her. She went back there. So it was very self-centered. It had nothing in my mind. I wasn't bought into her story. I wasn't bought into her motivations. I wasn't bought into her business, to be honest, at all.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stop shitting on Okwe's dreams now.
No, I kind of get it because she's an African. I mean, she's an African chef, and then the one meal she cooks in Nigeria is screwed up by the other chef with the one with the Uziza sauce. That was it. And then she was doing crepes with flambéed. I mean,
great.
The grapes, like she did a crepe dish, and I was like, just a flat pancake with a few grapes strewn over. There was no chefistry. There was no I was just like, she's supposed to be a bloody good chef. I mean, fold the pancake into a triangle or something. Drizzle the sauce on the side. Garnish.
She garnish it with fried grape. Fried grape. Sorry.
I mean, there was just this contrast. They did some really good shots of somebody flambeing stuff on the pan. And those cooking shots were really great. Mm-hmm. And it did not match any of the meals.
Yeah.
That she did at all.
I thought that too, but I was like, wow, okay.
Which on the flip side.
Go on.
Sorry, which on the flip side, they didn't do in Cook-Off. They were showing the hands of the actual actors who were cutting vegetables and onions like an amateur would. And I thought, no, you could have, you were showing us their hands anyway. You should have actually used the chef, because when Okwe was flambeing, when Okwe in air quotes was flambeing, it wasn't her. But it was good. It was a good shot. And they could have done that in Cook-Off. I mean, there was no need for us to see Anesu cutting whatever it was she was cutting so painstakingly. Even I cut faster than that. So I didn't like that. And I thought that was something that was missing. But you're right. I mean, such a huge opportunity. Sorry?
I was saying, but the food in Cook-Off looked better, right? Like the final...
In Cook-Off, yes.
It looked better.
Presentation-wise, yes. Let me ask you this: what did you guys think about like the romance? Because the romances on each one. Because I like Anesu and Prince more than I did, by far more than I did Okwe and Deji. For me, Okwe and Deji were like slightly antagonistic, and then one glass of sponsored syrup later, this woman was like, they were besties, and they were like, all of a sudden falling in love. And I just like, how did that happen? What? Because they didn't display any like romantic tension. There's nothing that syrup can do.
The power of syrup.
I was just like, they knocked that syrup back. She knocked that. I mean, but they didn't have. Did they have any palpable chemistry, like romantic chemistry, before that?
Did.
Do you know what? Actually, I like the banter between the two of them. I thought there was one thing that they did for Okwe. I thought they gave her agency, which I thought was incredible. And they allowed Deji to be a proper gentleman as well. He was very confident, but he was not a creep. Which, to be fair, I think is a good way to showcase how men should behave in relationships when you're pursuing a woman. So he was obvious about it. He wasn't, she was one that was saying things like, "Oh, are you trying to seduce me?" So she was saying that, but even when she was saying that, I don't know if it was because she didn't have any makeup on, she was who she was physically, but it didn't seem like a dirty gay. You know what I mean? Like, not dirty gay. Look at her. Are looking for man. It didn't look like that at all. But it felt like she owned her body. She owned her own desires. She was not ashamed to flirt. Mm-hmm. So I liked that. But the switch from them being enemies or slightly antagonistic to that, I think they should have built it up a little bit more. They tried to explain it with the vodka, which to be fair, or whatever that was, which to be fair, kind of gives it some explanation. But then I wanted to see a bit more.
She had one shot. She just took one gulp. She didn't think I didn't even have time to work yet. She looked
maybe she's not a drinker now.
But they hadn't even had time to get. She looked at in, he looked at her, chemistry.
That's it. That is
Hey,
it.
how about love at first sight? I mean, well, it wasn't really love at first sight.
But they've been seeing each other. They bumped into, and there were just things that didn't need to be there. Like they bumped into each other at the airport. Why that didn't need to be
But
there
that was,
at all.
Well, but because he
no,
can't
I thought it
remember
was
your face.
not necessary, but I thought it was good. Yes, because what I think what that does is, you know, what you look at and what you not obsessed about, but the more you look at something and you appreciate it, or you're spending time thinking about it, the more it starts to get roots in your heart. So in my mind, I think, so I think him just wondering, where do I know this face from? Number one, her being attractive. Number two, I think those two already sort of
Primed the bump,
captured his heart in a way, and then exactly, and then when they just had the conversation, that was just like, let's do this. I like, we're talking about giving her agency and he being the ultimate gentleman. I like the way he was refusing the front desk girl, which, seems tongue-in-cheek, but in reality, that could have gone any other way. In real life, that would have gone any other way. So I like that. And I like the way he was very confident about it. He was polite, but he was also very firm. Mm-hmm. But I like the fact that at the end of the night, she said good night, like that's it. And then when she felt comfortable enough, she came to his room.
That was good.
I don't know if that makes sense. Normally, it would be him at the door leaning in for a kiss and asking to come in for a nightcap. But he was confident enough to say, that's fine, let's go to our rooms. And then when she was prepared, when Auntie was gingered herb with her extra alcohol, she came. So I like that. I really like that. And in contrast to Anesu and what's
Prince.
And Prince. I mean, come on. You know, when the moment Prince said, "Oh, let's try and fit her in," and the I don't know, the producer, whatever, ran off. That moment when she stood there and he smiled at her. Hey God. I was like, why can't I be like this in my life? I thought that was just like,
wait, what moment was this? Did I miss this moment? Where was this? What scene was this?
You see, it was, you know when she came and she had missed the audition, and he told the producer and said, "Oh, maybe we can fit her in." And then he handed her, and then because he just kept looking at her, but he had already done something to earn her attention, And so she gave him attention. He was kind. He offered her. I mean, she was flustered, but he clearly had a calming effect and was in control and really used his privilege in her favor. So that for me already was, it was bubbling on the surface. I was like, come on, get it together. So I really like that. I thought that was a great setup for the romance. Yeah. And then, of course, they spent time together. Unlike those other people, they spent time together doing what they both loved. He was teaching her. There was that annoying scene where there was a food fight, which was very unbelievable, but it was there. Africans don't have food fights. We don't waste food.
We don't waste food. But anyway, and then going to clean stuff, and then you're inviting cockroaches.
It was good. Exactly. I think. but I think so the romance on both sides I thought was good, but the way it was built up and the chemistry I thought from Anesu and Prince, it was much better. I'm going to shut up now because I'm going to sound like a hopeless romantic.
Please do.
These two.
We need more of them in the world.
Please, what was up with that first kiss between Prince and Anesu though? Do you guys remember that? I was like, Prince.
Oh, awkward.
Oh my God. Well, okay, if we take it from the point that she's as a single mom is probably very wary of relationships, but still, I don't know. I don't know. Just
it was
didn't sit well with me. I don't know. It didn't flow. It kind of broke them away from the story of like it being so natural.
Yeah.
And then again, nothing works out. Everything doesn't always work out perfectly.
That is true.
This is real life. Exactly.
Awkward. Yeah. Yep. True that. How about dialogue? How did you guys feel about the dialogue in both of these films? I really liked the dialogue. Well, okay, so let me say this. In Royal Hibiscus Hotel, I liked the dialogue. I thought it was funny. I thought it was witty. I loved how at some point, right after the incident with the food, and then when they're hanging out with the alcohol, Deji and Okpe, and he goes to salty moments, and then she goes to those, they're doing a toast. to those that don't rub it in. You know, I like those little. I thought the dialogue was pretty.
Yeah.
I thought they tried. Cook off, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it worked. It worked. You know, you could tell that they made an effort, make it like fast. You know,
they
made an effort. They made an effort.
So
There was, we weren't, you know, the slowness of Fourth Republic. We didn't have that. You know, it was better.
Yes.
I felt like.
Okay, so I don't know. I was not drawn in by the dialogue. I was not drawn in by, because so her character is supposed to be arch and, you know, a little bit sassy, but I don't know. So I don't know whether it's a failing of the script or it's like the actor doesn't gel enough with the role. But I just felt it was a performance, and I could feel like it was a performance. And Nessa feels so much more natural to me as an actress.
Yeah.
The actress who's portraying NFC. Like I felt that was a person. That was a person, like, you know, going. It wasn't. I didn't feel that her character wouldn't say those lines. But with Okwe, it was just like some of these things are. I don't know. They just didn't feel right to me. And I always complain about this, and we've had this conversation before, where some of the characteristics and language feels very like not Nigerian. And yes, these guys are supposed to be returnees, but even in Hollywood, I don't know if you would get some of that language that they use, because it just feels very stylistic, as opposed to natural conversational English. So I don't know.
I didn't feel that way about this film. I actually thought it worked. I thought it worked for this film. I know what you're saying, and we talked
for Royal Hibiscus.
Yeah, with Royal Hibiscus. I felt like the dialogue felt natural for me, for the particular characters, because of their background. I liked it. Right.
I get that. I think if you're looking at it from a script, reading a script, or maybe even a book, it works. I think they could have done a whole lot more. I think they could have added a bit more Nigerianness to it. I mean, it's an opportunity to showcase Niger and the way we behave and the way we talk, and a lot about our culture. We talked about the food already, but I think they could have done a bit more with the language.
But also,
having said that, I think some of the break was the delivery as well. I think it was the delivery, because there were some awkward pauses. There was some very rigid delivery of the lines. And even though when you think about the line itself, like, okay, that works. I can, you know, it's witty in Royal Hibiscus, but actually in both. And I think the in Cook Off, they had this very English way of delivering, you know, their accents and it's very, I've forgotten what that thing is called, when actors learn to speak in this sort of
staccato,
some sort of elocution that they learn. It's a style but it's more prevalent on stage than in film. And I felt there was a lot more of that in Cook Off. It was very well delivered, very articulate, but it didn't really work for film in its entirety. But I get what you mean, Tolu, in terms of on the Royal Hibiscus Hotel. I think there was just something very stilted. Not quite. It was a bit jarring, not jarring, but it was a bit stilted about it. Yeah, but I think a lot of it was the delivery.
So, like,
I think a lot of it was.
But you think about it for a second. I mean, if you're a returnee, you speak differently from somebody who is like proper Nigerian, who's never like schooled or lived abroad. There are varying grades of how people speak and how Nigerians who have varying experiences and exposure speak. And it's like somebody who's been born and raised in the UK will speak very much like a British person. They may be able to like have some, like somebody like John Boyega, for instance. He can do a Nigerian, but he doesn't speak like a Nigerian on a long, and he doesn't speak like a returnee. Like a returnee is like a half and half. Like they have some Nigerianisms, they'll have some wherever they've been educated. And I don't know if I got that half and half with either Okwe or Deji. And I don't know, again, maybe I'm expecting too much. But I think there are things that we all do, like, when your accent goes in and out. So okay, no, to be fair, Okoye did that a little bit. She sounded a lot more British when she was in the UK.
Yes.
So yes, that was very authentic. She sounded a lot more British in the UK. But just your language changes, your choice of word changes, and I don't think that happened as much as it did. Anyways, yeah.
All right, so we're gonna talk about date night. The lead characters in both of the movies, both went on a big date. So let's talk about that. Ibi, I mean, you wanted to start us off.
Yes, the date night. So I mentioned this in our earlier chat. I think storytellers in Nigeria and Nigeria as a whole and Nollywood and blah, 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 we have this weird obsession with wealth. And whilst they say, okay, whilst we know that as Nigerians, we are a bit flamboyant and we're very ostentatious, I think is the word. I think that date night just, it kind of spelt it out to me. Why were they dressed like that? As in, was there any need? They had done so well by being very understated with her LV bag and her LV scarf. Okay, we know. But, they had done really well by just making them look very normal in the way Naija Bobo would dress and a Naija girl would dress, And then date night came and suddenly they looked as if they were going to meet the Queen of England. And I'm like, calm down. There's no need for that. And one of the things that we talked about in the past is when actresses, they overdo the whole dressing up, the wig and the face beats is extra. Whilst her face was not, overbeat, to be fair. But that outfit, I mean, she looked stunning. They both looked really nice, but there was just no need for it, number one. If you compare that with Prince and Anesu, it was much more understated, but it was quite nice. They both, I mean, as a couple and even as individuals, they looked really, really nice. I liked her necklace. I thought it was a good opportunity to showcase something that was.
Her necklace was amazing. I don't know if it's
African.
Yeah.
Her necklace was amazing.
That was very nice. I thought, okay. When somebody looks at this, they'll be like, okay, this is some motherland-ish right here. And I thought that was quite nice. When they went out to dinner, it didn't look too. Whilst I know they're rich, I know both Okpe and Deji are rich, but do you know what? Actually, they didn't have to be rich. If you think about both stories are identical in some sense. But why we always have to set our own the backdrop of a rich girl from London and a mini Dangote? There was no need for it.
Yemi keeps saying
that was what Tony.
That's how they described him in the movie.
That's what Tony. Yeah. Exactly. That's like a young Dangote, and I'm like, there is no need. If he was just a normal boy that worked in the bank, it would have been just as nice. And you should, maybe not use a 350 million naira hotel. Anyway, so that's what I think about that particular that comparison. I thought it was quite telling about our cultures and where our value systems and potentially what the things that excite us, where it lies. They both had the same end, but the way they approached it, I thought was vastly different.
So for me, for date night, I'd actually, to be very fair, like in a certain class of Nigerians dress like that when they go out, and it is they do.
To a date,
even when they go, for dinner with friends, they go out with full beats. I'm confused.
Yeah, but not just
that dress.
We're talking about that dress. That dress, they look like they were going to an award ceremony.
They do full beats. They do cocktail dresses or whatever. I mean, Nigerians go all out, even for business. When they're going to somewhere, they feel that it's very snazzy. So I can sort of see the person who was doing the costuming probably went a little bit more for the gram than she should have done. But it's not, to me, it didn't feel like out of the realm of possibility that they would dress that nicely.
Really?
Yeah.
It did for me. I think they could have written the story just like Prince invited Anesu, right, to a thing. He could have. I felt like
nice. That was actually nice.
Yeah, I felt like in this case to explain this grandeur of the outfits, maybe either of them could have been invited to an event. Something that made sense. To just go and sit down facing each other at the restaurant, dressed like that was a bit. I was like,
but it was rooftop at Echo Hotel with Chef Imoteda, who's actually really nice, by the way. But yes, I mean, it's a very exclusive affair.
Oh, really?
Well,
okay.
So when you wear that kind of dress to a date, what are you wearing to award shows? What are you wearing to end of the year CEO party? What are you wearing to
Quick,
weddings?
help me ask. Help me
no,
ask.
she's a chef. She's not going to any of these things. Why is she going there? She wear it again now, but there's nothing stopping. There's nothing stopping her.
But that was a good point though. How the date nights were.
There's another tiny thing. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm deviating a lot, but there was a cameo by the chef, right? There was also what I don't know in Cook Off when Tapua was having a conversation when he was supposed to be running with some random lady that came from nowhere.
Yes,
at the
what
park
was
bench.
that? Yes, I did. I was like,
What was that? And
yeah.
but exactly. But when Charmaine came, she kind of like, who is that?
Is
So
that
I suspect that that's probably like a local celebrity.
Celeb.
So again, it's kind of like, oh, they dropped in Chef Imoteda, is that what you call him? And then they probably dropped in. I meant to Google who that woman was, and then they dropped in this local celebrity. I don't know if she might have been a singer or something. So I thought that was actually quite cool. If that's what was going on. So another similarity.
We didn't talk about before we forget, we didn't talk about that final turnaround scene with the mother in Cook Off.
Oh yeah.
So just very quickly, I understood the motivation, but I don't know whether they executed it well because the mother got pregnant very young. And so I guess her disappointment is that her daughter, who was this shining, like A student, also got pregnant very young, and she was disappointed. But to spend that, and I guess it's African parents, they can hold a grudge. I mean, to spend that much time being so bitter about, I guess, seeing hopes and dreams sort of shattered, and you're hoping that for a better life for your daughter, and then she makes this mistake, and then her life is derailed, because obviously that's what happens to women. And it's interesting that they made Jacob, her baby father, Millian's partner, because obviously he was just what do you call it? He was just obviously not supportive of her, either her or her son. He was a deadbeat dad. So I get her disappointment, but I don't know if that was so last minute, no conversation, just 12 years of resentment and anger, and then she wins money, and then do you mean I'm not disappointed in you? I'm like, since when? When did that happen?
Well, so for me, what that, and I don't know if this was deliberate on the part of the writers, or this is what I got from that was, I feel like this is something that we should talk about sometimes as Africans, or at least as Nigerians. I find a lot of kind of narcissistic style of parenting where children are an extension of parents. And so you do well, oh, it makes me look good. And you do bad, it makes me look bad. Like, and I'm not a parent, so I mean, correct me, maybe I'm wrong, but it's not about you. And I think the mother made it all about her. It was always about, oh, but then when am I going to tell my church people?
Yeah.
And and I'm like, this is not about you. Your daughter's life changed. Why don't you focus on her? You're so focused on yourself that everything she does, you take it as a reflection of you. Like, can you separate yourself from your child?
Of yourself, yeah.
Like, get over yourself. And that's what I got from that.
But it's typical. It's very typical of African parenting. Very typical of African parenting. So I don't think it's out of the ordinary. But I agree that turnaround was not genuine. That turnaround was too fast. It didn't need to be there. She could have just been like, I'm sorry, I'm just disappointed, but now actually I see you're trying your best. I would like believe that more than, oh, it's because I got pregnant. It didn't really make sense. I'd have preferred, and I think for me, the resolution for me there is that now Anesu can stand up for herself. Yes. She has something that she should be proud of herself, and she's surrounded by other people who validate her. And while they could have exchanged the I love you, but I would have liked to see Anesu just win, if that makes sense. Just, okay, I've grown, you've grown a little bit. But like Lola said, it's not really up to you. Yeah, you now see me as valuable. It's questionable, the circumstances. It's not because I've won money, but that's fine. But I don't, and they could have even hugged it out. But I don't know why you just turned around all of a sudden and said, but I don't know. It was a little bit unbelievable. But she did look broken at that end. And there was just something about that woman's face that was just very, the Scottish would say, doer. And it's just very sad and miserable and discontent with life and belligerent and just something about her face. And I think she conveyed that a lot. And I don't expect that to change in over one dinner. And I empathize with her as a parent. I empathize with her. Your children are an extension of you. Anybody that says that they're not is a big fat lie. You do want to live out your life in some ways through them, but not in a completely narcissistic way. Some people do take it far, but you've seen things, you've made some mistakes. You don't want them to make the same mistakes, and when you see them making the same mistakes, it is the most frustrating thing in the world. Oh my goodness, it's really, really frustrating. So I get that 100% as well.
Okay. All right. On that note, I think we come to the end of this discussion. I thought this was really cool, though. I mean, and look, African filmmakers are giving us material to work with. This was actually a very interesting compare and contrast. I really enjoyed it. So well done to you guys. Don't mind all our, nitpicking. We mean well.
Mind it.
More.
Well, mind it actually, yes.
Yes.
We're hoping that.
But we mean no disrespect.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so you guys hang on. Viewers, thank you for watching again with us today, and we will see you in the next episode.